For more on retail, let's bring in Gerald Storch, Storch Advisors CEO. Gerald is the former Target vice chairman and former Toys R Us chairman and CEO. Jerry, thank you for being here. So how would you characterize just all the different factors playing into the retail space right now as it pertains to uncertainty, not actuality? I know you believe that when it comes to tariffs, at least, the uncertainty is actually doing more damage than the actuality.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, everything's going well, if you take a look at it. While all these threats of tariffs have certainly caused trouble, it's the uncertainty that's the problem. The absolute level of tariffs that are in place now and that look to be imposed don't look too high for retailers to handle. So if you're under 20% or less, it basically gets absorbed somewhere in the system. Small price increases, but nothing the consumers are even going to notice. Most of it absorbed at the source or throughout the supply chain. And that looks like where it's going to head up. You know, so far the tariffs have been more noise than action when you look at what's really happened. You know, there's that phrase thrown around, taco, you know, that Trump always chickens out. I prefer to think of it as tapas. Trump always prevents Armageddon somehow. So when it looked like the tariffs were too high for iPhones, the tariffs came down. When it looked like there were issues with those crazy reciprocal tariffs, 150% or so for China, those came down. So, you know, he looks around, sees what's going on. The team prevents it from getting too horrific. And again, in that 20% or less range, it's just not a big problem. And the spending bill that passed adds liquidity to the consumer. The people kind of know the deficit's too high, but they don't experience that in their everyday life. What they look at is their tax bill, and if that's better, they have more money to spend, they're going to spend what's in their pocket.
So with that tapas notion, then, do you think the administration sees that 20% baseline as kind of the goal here and won't go beyond that for some key trading partners?
I don't know. You know, there's been we're seeing a negotiation in process, and when the big numbers are thrown out, everyone gets upset and panics, and they know that. That's how they use that, is in order to upset people. You know, if they go much higher than the 20%, then it does cause problems for those countries. So in those cases, if there's something you can't get anywhere else and the tariff is very, very high, then you're going to see prices eventually passed on to the consumer. As long as there's substitutes or that number is lower, I think it's all going to work out okay. You know, keep in mind, everyone was saying the sky was falling in the first Trump administration when they put tariffs on a lot of Chinese products, toys, etc. And in the end, the studies after the fact showed 87% of those were absorbed at the source by the Chinese manufacturers. Again, that was a 15% kind of tariff. And, you know, as long as we're in that range, we're actually okay.
You know, Jerry, one thing we've seen since the election, and it even predates that, but it's been pronounced, is the very largest retailers have done fine stock market-wise, but there has been some more pressure on the average chain retailer out there relative to the giants. I mean, does that just tell you, you know, how easy or tough it is to absorb the tariffs, or is there something else going on?
I think viewing it through a tariff lens would be wrong. I think you're right. They're better able to negotiate better deals. But the reality is those same companies have been doing well for a long time, 5 years at least, going back to pre-pandemic days. You're talking about Walmart, Amazon, Costco, TJX. These are massive winners. They've been gobbling out all the market share, and almost everyone else has been losing. And you look at someone like Target, they've been a huge share donator. They're off strategy. It's a broken story. It's a big company constantly tossing market share to Walmart and others. So that's what's been going on. And it didn't start with the tariffs, and it's not going to end when that difficulty is over.
Yeah. And, of course, we've got Prime Week kicking off, so we'll see the effects of all of that probably exacerbated over the next week or so. Jerry, thank you.
My pleasure.